Welcome back. Having understood what Web 1.0 and Web 2.0 are, let us dive into understanding Web 3.0. Let us understand about the growth of the tech giants Facebook, Alphabet, Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple. So you could clearly see here Facebook is topping all the other companies. But do you know what? Facebook does not create any electronic products or any other products of its own other than the Facebook website itself. Then how this is possible? It's all because of the user's content. So what are the drawbacks of Web 2.0? Though Web 2.0 is widely used by all the users, it has its own drawback as well. Let us think about it. There is a centralized governance. What happens to all your videos if the YouTube or if the Alphabet company shuts down the YouTube? Everything is gone. Or what will happen if all the data of yours is getting hacked in Facebook? Moreover, the users are giving up their privacy and also the control of their data. Whatever the data that is getting shared is actually stored in the third-party server. And how do we rely on that data? Even the passwords, even some users use Google Drive or some other external cloud storage for storing their sensitive informations like photographs, their private videos, their passwords, everything. How do we ensure that these videos or photographs or even the sensitive informations that you store are not actually accessed by the company themselves? We cannot guarantee it, right? And also, these applications that are created are vulnerable to all the security breaches. If someone taps into the system, and what happens if some bank's website is hacked, then the complete information is lost. Moreover, creators are not the real owners. Actually, the users, even though they create the content, and if they post it, once they post it, the entire content will become the property of the company itself. But what happens to the creators? Actually, the creators are not the real owners. The ownership is completely transferred to the company or to the application where you have posted your information. This is a article which is published by the Wall Street Journal. Article clearly explains how Google interferes with its search algorithm or how Google taps in the search algorithm, and whatever the result we see, actually it is not, or it may not be the actual result. It might be triggered, or it might be having some kind of background monetary benefit. This one tweet explains it all. Web 1, companies create content and companies earn money. But what happened in Web 2? People create the content, but the companies are earning the money. In Web 3, it's going to be completely different. If people create the content, then the people will earn the money. That makes the difference. So now let's understand the two buzzwords, decentralization and distributed. If we understand this decentralization and distributed system, then we will understand Web 3.0 very, very clearly. So we can say Web 3.0 is a decentralized architecture of machines which connect with each other and where we will have our information securely stored. So what is decentralization then? There will not be any single point of failure, or there will not be any single entity that controls the network. Say, for example, if the informations are stored in one server, and what happens if that server crashes, then all the informations are lost. And If Facebook decides to shut down their office or shut down their data center, then all the data that we have stored, everything is lost. But in decentralization, you will not have any single point of failure, or the problem of point of failure is eradicated, because there will not be any single entity to control the network. Then what will happen? There will be group of nodes or collection of nodes geographically distributed, and each node is actually controlled by the owner itself. So the node operator will be the owner of that node, and they interoperate with each other and they work collectively. Example, blockchain. Let us understand blockchain in detail in the further videos. Distributed, on the other hand, we can say multiple systems work together with no central master. So you could see the word geographically distributed even in the decentralized system. So which means that blockchain is also a distributed system, or we can say any decentralized systems are distributed as well. And there is one more advantage, is in distributed system, the work can be splitted among all the nodes, and each node can do some part of the work, and finally the work can be combined together to become a big job. The systems that are part of distributed systems, or the computers that are part of distributed systems, they don't share a common bus, which means they are not multiprocessor machines. They are individual machines that are connected only through network, and the communication is only through message passing. So there is no master-slave relationship. And each computer or each component of the entire distributed system, it will be split in different parts of the world, or we can say it will span geographical boundaries. And the most important point is, even though it is geographically distributed, the ownership is held by one single entity. Say for example, Google has its data center across the world in many places. And when we try to fetch the data, we fetch the data from the nearest data center. Even though the Google owns multiple data centers, all the data centers are distributed, but all the data centers are controlled only by Google. That makes a difference. Decentralization, there will not be any single owner. But in distributed, you will have single owner, though the systems are geographically distributed. So this is a centralized architecture. In centralized architecture, there will be only one server, and this server is completely controlled by a single entity, and all the clients will access that particular server. What will happen if this server fails? Then that is what called as single point of failure. And when there is a single point of failure, all the informations that are stored, or all the informations of these users will be lost, and all these users will not be able to communicate with each other. This is what a centralized system means. Then what is distributed? Distributed systems can have different topologies. It can be a star topology like this, or it can be mesh topology like this. This is a star topology. We can say this is a server, and this is a server, and this is a server. Each client will connect to the nearest server, and they get data, or they get their work done through that server. But clearly you could see all these servers are controlled by one single entity, though they are in the different parts of the world. This is a star topology. And even you consider this mesh topology, even there is no server and or a client server relationship, you have multiple nodes which interoperate with each other or which cooperate and work together, but still all these nodes are controlled by one single entity. This type of systems are called as distributed systems. But what will be the position of decentralized system? In a decentralized system or in a system of architecture, this is a star topology and this is a mesh topology. You don't have any central authority to control any of the machines. Still you can have servers connected with each other, or you can have the actual nodes that are connected with each other. Each node or each server will be controlled by individual authority or individual owner. Web 3.0. From 2014, this is actually booming, and is this going to be a future? Yes. So you could see clearly there is no central server at all. The client communicate with the other client and the other client will communicate with this client, which means that there is a peer-to-peer communication. There are only peers and no servers which are controlled by a central authority. So this Web 3.0 is a term which is coined by or defined by Gavin Wood, who's a co-founder of Ethereum, and he coined this word in the year 2014. And this Web 3.0 contains a semantic content that can benefit from AI, and also it will have metaverse worlds. So metaverse is a parallel digital world that exists in parallel with the real world. That is metaverse world, and it is decentralized, and you will have a lot of edge computing and also peer-to-peer computing. Edge computing means the actual nodes or the actual computers that are connected to the network will be performing the task as well. That is why it is called as edge computing. The last level of all the nodes will be able to perform the computational tasks as well. So they'll not be just mere consumers, or they'll not be just mere producers. The nodes themselves are servers, and also they themselves are the clients. Whatnot, you get blockchain-based distributed services as also part of Web 3.0. So Web 3.0 is not only blockchain. You have collection of technologies that are getting developed, and serious researchers are going in this field, and definitely it's going to be the future. What are the core ideas of Web 3.0 or Web 3 in general? Web 3, the first point is Web 3 is decentralized, which means there is no single owner, there is no single authority to control all the nodes, and each node will be geographically distributed. Each node should be owned by one particular owner, or the users will be the owners. And Web 3 is completely permissionless, which means all the users who are part of the network will have equal access, and nobody can be excluded from anything. Web 3, it has native payment. We all know Bitcoin is one of the cryptocurrency. Similar to Bitcoin, we have a lot more cryptocurrencies. Web 3 would be using its own cryptocurrency and not any other money. So there is no necessity for banks, or there is no necessity for the payment processors. Don't worry, we'll be learning about all the details and how do we do it, how blockchain works, everything all together in the future videos. Core ideas of Web 3 includes trustlessness as well. Since multiple users or multiple owners interoperate with each other, there is no trusted third party at all. Say for example, if I wanted to send money to someone else, we might wanted to rely on a third party organization or third party bank. But here we don't want to trust any third party Web3 is completely trustless, which means that it does not rely on any third party, completely peer-to-peer. So the Web 3.0 architecture will look something like this. When you look at the browser and the front end part, there is no difference between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. But here comes the difference. This front end will actually communicate with a backend script, or we can say there will be a server-side script which actually generates your web page, and that becomes the front end of any application. And there will be a database. Here you will have the blockchain here, and this front end will connect with the blockchain. We'll be digging into the details of how this connection can happen between the front end and the blockchain. Ethereum given as an example here, which is a most widely used blockchain right now. But in the place of Ethereum, any blockchain can be used. So the EVM or the Ethereum architecture or the Ethereum blockchain will have a lot of smart contracts. So these smart contracts are the programs that govern the Ethereum architecture completely. And instead of database, we will have blocks of data or blocks of transactions. The Ethereum blockchain is a collection of all these things together. The Ethereum virtual machine, all the smart contracts, and also all the blocks. Let's dig into the details of the contents in this image. One is blockchain. So what is a blockchain? Blockchain is actually a state machine. Whomever accesses that state machine will be getting the same state. This state machine contains multiple nodes which are not actually governed by any person in the world, but actually it is governed collectively by everyone in the network. And what are smart contracts? As I said earlier, smart contract is just a small program that runs on an Ethereum blockchain, and there will be some logic behind the smart contract based on which some kind of governance will happen, or we can say the state changes will happen only depending or only based on the smart contracts. And what is Ethereum virtual machine? This machine is what responsible for executing all the logics that are defined in the smart contracts. And also it is actually the program that governs the entire working of the Ethereum blockchain. And the front end, already we know the UI logic or whatever the user sees as a screen, that is what called as a front end. And this one will actually communicate with the application logic which is defined in the smart contracts. So the front end is responsible for communicating with the smart contract. Why is Web 3 important? Why do we need it? We already have Web 2 and it's all perfectly fine. The primary reason is ownership. The creators will be the owners in Web 3, but which is not in the case of Web 2. And the next one is censorship resistance. If you put on a content in the blockchain or on the blockchain, the content can never be deleted by anyone else. But where in the case of Web 2, if you post any content, the platform might even delete the content, which happened some time back, even in the Twitter. Some of the tweets were deleted. But in Web 3, it's completely resistant to the censorship, which is actually the native feature of Web 3 platform. And the most important of all is decentralized autonomous organization. We don't have any central authority or organization that governs the blockchain. And you will have one digital identity, or you can say an Ethereum address, and that identity will help you to control all the data that you are posting, and this digital identity can never be deleted. And of course, it uses native payments. It has its own cryptocurrency. But still, Web3 also has some limitations. Decentralization, or not having any owner, has its own drawback. One is the scalability. The number of transactions that happens in Web 2 is completely unimaginable. But the transaction rate in Web 3 is completely slow because it is decentralized. Anything, any state change or any work or any transaction which is being done, it goes through a lot of process. And a typical transaction, say if I transfer money from one person to another person, and this transaction might get updated only after a few minutes. It has to be propagated throughout the network, and all the nodes should be updated with that copy of data. So scalability is a problem in Web3. And the next one is UX, that is the user experience. The regular Web2 applications are completely user friendly. But in Web3, the applications will be requiring some extra steps or softwares, and it also needs a lot of education. Hence, it becomes a hurdle for the adoption. The third one is accessibility. The blockchain cannot be integrated very easily with the browsers. Hence, Web3 is not accessible to many of the users. And of course, the cost. All the decentralized applications will put up only very small portion of the code in the blockchain because it's very expensive. So the cost is another drawback. Though Web3 has limitations, many users are adopting blockchain or Web3 applications quickly. Let us see in detail about blockchain, its working, Ethereum blockchain, and how to write smart contracts. In future videos, we'll be seeing how this blockchain works and what are the applications that can be developed using blockchain, and how do we develop application using blockchain, or how do we write smart contracts.